I love the use of AI voices or synthetic voices for people who might have, they're embarrassed, right? I've worked with
It's not
engineers
an
my whole
easy
career.
profession. I will
Yeah.
say you have to get
And
used to the sound of your voice. Yes.
yeah, like I've worked with engineers my whole career, and
Mhm.
sometimes like it's not that they don't want to tell their story or bring something out there, but maybe they just don't have the self-confidence, or they were made fun of as a kid. I mean, I've always thought I had a super nasally voice and never liked the sound of my voice. And years into public speaking, I'm like, fine, I can handle it now. So I love it from that perspective of, if for some reason you couldn't, now you can. I hate it from the perspective of, well, you could have had a human do all this stuff, but instead you just sort of one-clicked it, and now it's sort of an average, generic, mediocre, as they say, AI slop.
Welcome to Audio Branding, the hidden gem of marketing. Sound plays a more important role in human behavior and our decision-making than you may realize. In this podcast, I'll help you understand the art and science of sound so you can better influence others in business and your life. I'm your host, Jodi Krangle. Let's delve a little deeper.
Well, welcome, Jeremy. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it a lot. I know you're a busy guy.
Thanks, Jodi. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. I love to start out these discussions with a question about an early memory of how sound moved you. Do you have one of those?
I'm gonna embarrass myself a little by saying I have so many of those,
That's
and
okay.
I have two in particular that just come to mind. They are both have to do with sort of me and pop culture. And so the open fess up is, if there's almost any kind of uplifting emotional music in a movie, I'm probably going to cry. But my favorite sort of recent-ish example, and it's not my youngest memory, but it's sticking in my head, is there's this movie called Breaking Away. It's from the late 70s. It's a beautiful period piece. It holds up immensely. And the use of music, it's a movie, it's sort of a coming of age story about this small town kid who's good at bicycling, and he wants to bike with the Italians. And there's a little bit of a love story in the middle. It's very cute. But what they do is they incorporate like opera into the scenes. So when he's bike racing, you're hearing like the Marriage of Figaro in the background. And the last time I watched it through, there's something like every time the music would hit these moments, and I'm just like weeping on my couch. Thankfully, I was alone, so there's no one there to see me do it. But that's absolutely one of those things that just hit me so hard.
Yeah, I can totally relate. I will cry in good commercials. So
Yeah,
I totally get it.
there's something about, and so the second one I was going to say is, if you take, again, I can't quite explain where it comes from in my brain, but if you take like pop music and you somehow throw violins in there somewhere, you've got me. Almost any time there's like the Beatles have some stuff with violin, but modern stuff too. And there's one in particular, if you've heard the Broadway recording of Les Miserables back from like mid 80s, there's this one part on the second CD where these electric guitars and violins come hitting in, and I'm just like, oh yeah, that's like all of my brain is just sitting there in that music. So I hope that counts for the question, but that's what comes to mind.
Oh, sure, definitely. Yeah, filmmaking is immensely influenced by sound, totally, because that's our emotional context. We're getting
Right.
what we're supposed to feel is what the music is telling us we're supposed to feel.
I actually learned a really fascinating thing, which is when I had my kids were young, which is anytime you're showing a movie to young kids, and it's not like a scary movie, but maybe has a frightening scene. If you not only turn on the lights, but simply mute it and watch the scene through one time and then watch it again, like it might still get them tense, but like the thing that might like rock them to their core goes completely away. So there you go. There's just that's just the music for scaring people.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that too, because I am not a huge horror fan. And if I'm going to watch a horror movie and I feel like I need to watch the whole thing through, I'll turn off the sound.
There you go.
Because that's what does it. That's what allows me to, I can watch whatever, but like if there's sound with it that is meant to make me feel a specific emotion, I am going to feel that emotion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's hard not to. Ugh. Anyway, yeah, there is a lot of music related, very, I would say it gives us such a powerful impression of things, and it makes us remember things that we may have heard, I don't know, 25 years ago, could be longer. I mean, I know some jingles. I know some jingles that have lingered in my brain that I could recite like right now, and they're like 30, 40 years old. So, yeah.
I maintain that the problem with modern commercials is no jingles, but
yeah.
You know the song "Bicycle Race" by Queen?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That song comes on, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 years old in my mother's apartment, sitting on this orange corduroy couch we had working on the jigsaw puzzle. Like, and I know which puzzle it was, and I could even describe it if need be, but like it's just sits there in my brain somewhere. I can't tell you almost anything I did with my entire day yesterday, but I could tell you about that moment from 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah, it's funny how it really, really gets us remembering. It actually time travels. I was talking way early in this podcast with someone about that, and it's like you're time traveling. It really is, because you feel exactly the way that you felt in that moment.
That's so true.
Yeah, it's incredible. I think scent does that for us as well. But yeah.
I'm by the way, I also am like weirdy, nerdy about, like, I'm a trivia guy. So you're right. Scent is scent and memories are the top, whatever that connection is.
Yeah.
But music's right behind there.
Well, yeah, it's the first sense that really gets us going when we're, before we're born, we're probably hearing our mother's voice.
Yeah, we're supposed to play our kids Mozart now while they're in the womb or something.
Are they still saying that? I don't know. They used to say that. Are they still?
They were. I mean, they were telling us, when we 18 years ago, it was still true. I don't, or they were still thought it was true. I don't know if it is or isn't. But
yeah, I need to do some research on that one. I'm curious now.
Prenatal auditory memories.
Yeah, I'm sure there have been experiments. But moving on to where you went from those early memories. So you worked in sound for quite a number of years before you ended up doing what you're doing now. So how did that transition happen?
Yeah, so technically I would argue I've worked in media my whole career. So sound's always been part of it.
Yeah.
But for example, in the late 90s, I had started a startup called Mediabolic. We were a lot like Roku. And so if you've used a Roku device, we were building a similar kind of technology stack. But the very first product we were building was, simply put, a device to let you listen to your MP3s on your stereo. Right, because it's 99, and people like me were either, I at the time ripped my entire 600 CD collection into MP3. No, of course I did it into Windows Media Audio format. Then I redid it into MP3. But anyhow, we were building this product because the MP3s were taking off. You had their first kind of pre-iPod devices coming out. But it made no sense. Like the one place I wanted to listen to it the most, my stereo, is the one place I couldn't get it. So we built a device as a partnership actually with Netgear, the router networking company.
I remember Netgear.
And it had a really small little display and 4 up, down, left, right buttons. And basically you could traverse your file hierarchy. It sounds nerdy because it was, and get to listen to your MP3s on your stereo, which anyone listening to this is like, duh, of course. But at the time, you either had them like on an SD card or they were on a laptop, and that was that. So realistically, the very first physical device I ever tried building was a music playback product. And that was 2000, 2001-ish.
Wow. Yeah. So what did you end up doing from there? There must have been a lot that came afterwards.
Well, that platform quickly expanded to include photos and videos. So we went from play your music to also look at your digital photos on your TV, which again, at the time was oh my gosh, you could do that. And then that also was expanding to early days of streaming video. To be candid, it was mostly about the MP3s at the time because just there was nobody had video archives the way we do today. But that platform ended up expanding, ended up getting acquired by a company called Macrovision, which is part of all of the tech that powers a lot of the streaming TV world now. The same company now owns TiVo and some of those other brands. I went over to Sling Media to build the original Sling box, which was basically the first way you could watch your home TV over the internet. So pre-YouTube, pre-Netflix streaming, we had this box you could buy, plug your TV stuff into it, hook it up to your internet connection with an Ethernet cable of all things, and then listen to and or watch your TV from anywhere in the world. And interesting, sound was a huge component of this because, go back in time to 2004, 2005, not everybody had high-speed internet the way we did today. And we learned something really fascinating from people probably with knowledge like you have, which is our ears don't blink. Our eyes blink, our ears don't blink. And so even back 20 years ago, we made certain decisions in the product to prioritize the audio over the video, which will, if you're listening to this, you're like, why would you do that? Because if the video buffered, you would be expecting it. It was normal. It was, again, 2005, all video buffered. There was no such thing as non-buffering video. Whereas if the audio skipped even a little bit, it would just be really jarring because we're not used to audio ever skipping, right? We blink, but we don't blink the ears. So anyhow, that was the very next thing I went to do after Mediabolic was build the Sling box.
Wow. Yeah, that really takes me back. Wow. But I totally get what you mean about needing to hear the audio without any interruptions and I just released an episode with a filmmaker who talks about this in video because he says they'll forgive bad video, but they will not forgive bad audio. It's because you don't get the information you were expecting. You know, if it hurts your ears, you're not going to want to listen to it. That's
right. And we are used to continuity in audio. I think it's why, like, even if you think about it, like if you make a cell phone call to someone, you're having bad reception. It's so off-putting. But you start a FaceTime video call, and if that's buffering, you're sort of like, I get it. You're making a weird face. That's what's happening,
Yeah, but you can still hear it. So it's all good. Yeah.
It's like the baseline that lets us all know, like, it's almost like connected to time. Like, time's still flowing, everybody. Like, you can hear something, you're still there.
Yeah.
Hi there. I'm Karsten Kims, CEO and founder of Sunny Minds, and you're listening to the Audio Branding Podcast, a great place to learn about how powerful sound can be. If you want to understand how to harness the power in your own life, keep listening.
So it seems like you do a lot of tech, and that a lot of that tech does have to do with sound, which is very cool to hear. So where did you go from there? What happened because I mean, internet's getting better as you go, right?
That's true.
So what are the possibilities?
So I spent the next few years of my career as a consultant. These days we would call it a fractional CPO, but basically I was helping companies that had products at different levels of maturity, bring them to market. I think most relevant for this discussion is one of those companies was Sonos, if you're familiar with the portable speaker system. And this was in their earliest days where, I don't know how many people know this, but they weren't even using like Wi-Fi for their core streaming channels. They had their own streaming system to make sure what we were just talking about wasn't happening, where, one room would be off from the other room, right? So Sonos put a lot of technology into making that absolutely perfect. In fact, you could still argue that if you're a Sonos user, their ability to sync audio, multi-room, and all that is still really, really impressive. And you could throw kind of anything at it. But I helped them launch their second gen controller product back in the late 2000s. And that was the very next thing I did, work down with them. They're based in Santa Barbara, great company. and worked with some other tech startups. Some you've heard of, like Waze and Voodoo. Others that never saw the light of day, as the world tends to be. You mentioned the internet evolves.
Yes.
And then basically I got bit by the startup bug again and started something in the mid 2010s called Digit. This time we were a TV guide app, basically on the iPad. Remember when the iPads were going to take over all of computing and we would never use a laptop again? Maybe not. But
I
when
still
the iPads,
use a laptop.
Exactly. And the iPad's now just like the great bedroom Netflix device,
Yeah.
So we had built this TV discovery app called Next Guide, which was all around helping you find the next thing you'd want to watch on TV. And we built that for a couple of years, and then we were acquired by actually another startup. And that's about when my career shifted. I went off to bigger companies. I spent a few years at CBS and some time a little bit of time at Etsy, which had nothing to do with media. It was an amazing company. And then I realized I want to stay in media. And then a couple of years over at Warner Media, building products with that team, all leading up into the pandemic. And so that's sort of where my next few steps went.
Okay. Yeah. So what were you doing at those big companies specifically? Like you were just helping them with a startup or with a new product, or
I was running their product teams. So
I see. Okay.
Yeah. The short version, Jodi, is I had little kids and I didn't have the energy nor desire to not see them, 18 hours a day to do my startup. So I spent some time in big company life. And then from there, now that my kids are teenagers, first one's actually about to go to college, and startup bug hit me again. And so I started what I'm doing now, which is called Augie. And our the journey comes back together as the very first version of Augie was actually all about the audio. The name of the company at first was Augmented Audio Experiences. Obviously, that doesn't quite, that's not a ring off the tip of the tongue kind of name. So we actually named the company AugX Labs, which is just sort of a weird shortening of that. And then ended up naming the product Augie. And the very first version of it, the whole concept was turn your words, take your audio feed into video. Our whole first vision of what we wanted to do was take someone like yourself, Jodi, anyone who could record themselves, make an audio track, whether it's a podcast or narration or a company overview, whatever someone's trying, a radio show, and help them turn their audio feed into something that could also be paired with video to get on the YouTubes and whatnot. So it's an interesting through line that sort of just kind of keeps hitting in what I've been up to.
Yeah, it is really a fascinating progression. Yeah. I'm curious about what working with the big companies taught you about working with a startup, because then like you went from those big companies to Augie. So like were there things that you carried through from working in the big companies, or did you learn what not to do? I mean, there's always that possibility too.
A little from column A, a little from column B, as we'd say.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest, and part of the reason I actually went to big company life was, in startups, I'm going to be very sort of generalizing for a moment. Startups, the role is really about being a leader. You are leading a team to go solve some crazy problem, and hopefully, if you do it well, a business springs out of it and you make a lot of money, or make the world a better place, or whatever your aspiration is. In large companies, though, while you're leading, really, it's more about managing, right? It's there's a saying that nobody quits a company; they quit a manager. And so for me, a lot of my time in those companies was really trying to grow what they call the soft skills, but I think are the hard skills, which is how do you make teams of people with disparate priorities, perspectives, values, needs? How do you get them to really align and work on a thing and achieve or exceed all of your goals and expectations? So I was focused a lot personally on how I could grow as a leader of people, and whether that's leading through what I'm doing now, the startup life, or managing through growth and et cetera. That was top of mind for me. I would say one of the other key things I really learned was, in a startup, when you're trying things out, you're A/B testing everything. Here's our landing page. Here's our first version, second version, 70th version. And that's all about how do you grow faster. When I was at CBS and at Warner, what I learned is those A/B testings are actually almost the inverse. They're costly, right? If you've got a sales page, so it's CNET, number one tech publication on the planet. So when CNET's putting out an article that's like top 5 printers for home use or something like that, anything we're going to do on that test, we might increase our revenue, but realistically speaking, as a mature company, we're just as likely to decrease our revenue. So it was the first time I ever really started learning, like every time you make those tests, you're not just trading off how much you can grow things, but also you're potentially testing, are you accidentally shrinking things? So that was a really big, like, oh, I never thought of it that way kind of moment for me.
Yeah, that would be a bit of a revelation and very much of a different thing, I would imagine. Yeah. But a lot of what you're talking about definitely comes down to communication. So
Right.
again, that's things we talk about here too. So always a valid subject as well. I'm curious where you fall in the AI debate. And it's kind of, I know that Augie uses it, and I know that you know quite a lot about it. So you've been working in this for a little bit of time. Where do you see it fitting in with creative products?
That's a great question. And I think one that we could revisit this topic almost every month with different perspectives.
It's getting better all the time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I look at it like this. If AI can help us do a thing we couldn't do before, and especially if that thing was prohibitively expensive, then it's a great service for whoever is using it. At the same time, like any technology that obviates jobs and skills and whatnot, historically, we've always been able to create new things to fill that void. Right. I think with AI, that becomes a bit of one of the challenges. And I think the secondary challenge, and this is really where, it bothers me personally, which is, are we going to end up in this place where like 80% of the content is written by a bot, said by a bot, visualized by a bot, and then wait for it, watched by a bot? Right? Like, are we all just going to be sitting on the sidelines and like, hey, did my bot like your fake podcast? Oh, good. Did it tell its fake friends on social media? Like, I don't want that. And as much as like
more spam than we need.
Yeah. So, at Augie, our perspective I'll just be and I'm not saying this to push the company, but our perspective is AI is there to assist the human. So as an example, we have a script writing feature. So if you wanted to make a promo clip for your podcast, Jodi, or an ad for a tech product or even a mom and pop shop, and like let's say you run a pizza shop, right? You probably don't know how to write a script for a marketing video. And let's face it, if you might not even have the budget to go hire a copywriter. So to me, like helping that, random pizza shop be able to make a video ad, I think AI is awesome at that. If at the same time, their only point of that is to, check a whole bunch of AI bot boxes, it's sort of worthless. So I really like that we can up-level our skills. I really like that we can, okay, we can script write this for you. We could voice this for you if you're really shy, or, I love the use of AI voices or synthetic voices for people who might have, they're embarrassed, right? I've worked with engineers my whole career.
It's not an easy profession. I will say, you have to get used to the sound of your voice. Yes.
Yeah. Like I've worked with engineers my whole career, and sometimes like, it's not that they don't want to tell their story or bring something out there, but maybe they just don't have the self-confidence, or they were made fun of as a kid. I mean, I've always thought I had a super nasally voice and never liked the sound of my voice. And years into public speaking, I'm like, fine, I can handle it now. So I love it from that perspective of, if for some reason you couldn't, now you can. I hate it from the perspective of, well, you could have had a human do all this stuff, but instead you just sort of one-clicked it, and now it's sort of an average, generic, mediocre, as they say, AI slop, right? That's just uninteresting to me, right?
So it's all about how you use the tool, really. I mean, that's how it is with anything, any new tool, really.
The phrase human in the loop. In Augie, it matters entirely. Every step of the way, we want the human to make choices. right? So we have a feature that will help you find a great clip from your podcast and put it up on social, because you can't put 45 minutes on your Instagram feed all in one thing. But in Augie's version, we also give you the editor at the same time. So we've suggested a clip, but we really want you to be the one to put the final touch on it. And we actually say that to our users. So whenever we put a video together for you, whether we're assembling it from your B-roll or stock assets or whatever it is, we actually tell you, hey, this video wants 10 more minutes of your time or something like that to really make it great. And you know, you're going to, I am sure there will be a point sooner or later where that won't be necessary. I think we will stick very strongly to the, hey, human, come look at this, approve it, make sure you like it, that it's got some soul and reality to it.
The soul is important.
Yeah.
No, I get it. I get it. The soul is totally important. And if it's all just a button push, then it becomes soulless and YouTube slop, because we're seeing that in between all of our YouTube videos right now constantly.
Right. I actually just had this debate with someone because they wanted Augie to be better at clip making. And one of the things I said is, you know, sooner or later we will be. Sooner or later we'll be able to predict exactly, you know, scientifically speaking, this is your best highlight clip. I still don't necessarily know that's the one I want to push live. Is it all about what's going to get me the absolute maximum new audience? I mean, from one angle, sure. But from the other angle, I want the audience that is like, oh, I like this Jeremy guy. He talks about this, that, and the other. And like, oh, he put a clip up talking about Arrested Development, not AI. Well, AI is going to do better SEO, but Arrested Development's my favorite TV show. So that's the one that went live.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So you're using this for your own podcast. Is that correct?
That's right. I'm, you know, they in the
so you're trial testing it. Yeah.
Yeah. They say dog fooding, but my co-founder and I like this where you eat your own dog food, but I prefer the phrase, my co-founder says, we drink our own champagne.
Okay.
I like that a little better.
I like that. That's good. Yeah.
Well, that's the end of this episode. Thanks for listening. And if you like what you heard, why not tell a friend about this podcast? It's available in all the usual locations. Until next time.